Hello, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy Lemire. That is Alonso Duralde. That is Matt Atchity. We are talking about A Wrinkle in Time, Ava DuVernay's big budget adaptation of the classic children's novel. It is finally here after much fanfare and expectation, and we all saw it. Does it live up to the hype, Alonso Duralde?
So A Wrinkle in Time is the story of young Meg Murry, played here by Storm Reid. Her father is a scientist, and he's been missing for the last 4 years. And suddenly some unusual women with unearthly powers pop into her life and show her a way of maybe finding him and bringing him back, which leads her on an adventure across time and space with the boy at school who seems to like her, and her adopted brother who is super precocious. And yeah, it's a very trippy movie for very young children. Take a look.
Imagine that the ant here wants to get to her other hand.
The quickest option is to walk across the street.
But it turns out a straight line is not the shortest distance between 2 points. Not if you use the fifth dimension.
It's outside of the rules we know of time and space. So the ant arrives in my hand instantaneously.
So you fall to space?
More likely wrinkle it.
So yeah, I feel really, really mixed about this, and I'm sad about that because I was really excited. I love Ava, and I love that she can make any kind of movie, and I love that she was given the keys to the kingdom, as it were, the Magic Kingdom, to do it this big Disney movie. I love that it's about a young woman of color who uses her science background to save the day. I love that she's fearless and she finds her voice as the movie goes along. I love that the boy who is along with her for the ride is essentially what the girl role would be in traditional movies. He gets to sit there and be pretty and not help, and and that's he's along for the ride. And it's ambitious. It's visually really ambitious, and it just does not work. It's colorful, but it feels really simultaneously overly simplistic, like for little young viewers in its color and its energy. But the narrative has been so compressed that the emotion that it seeks from us never really materializes.
I like a lot of this.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself watching nearly all of it. I agree with you that the ending doesn't quite work because it feels like they are setting up a very big and elaborate thing, and then it all gets resolved.
Really fast.
Really fast.
Like, we're not gonna give it away, but like, things get figured out pretty quickly here. Yeah.
And I don't think the movie has the sort of emotional finale oomph that it wants to have, but I had a lovely time looking at it, and I enjoyed the performances, except maybe Reese Witherspoon. She's trying a little hard.
She's kind of doing like a grown-up Tracy Flick thing. She can still make like kind of bitchy, offhanded comments like Tracy Flick.
I guess it felt a little labored, but like Oprah. I don't generally like Oprah. I liked her in this.
Let's talk about Oprah. Let's talk about the Oprah in the room.
Yeah, because I'll tell you.
I usually like Oprah.
I usually don't, and I liked her in this.
So
weirdly
like
enough.
Color Purple? Or
no, Color Purple. Yes, I'm talking about. I think I'm talking about mainly Oprah as Oprah on a daily basis.
I don't like that Oprah.
Oh, okay.
I like Oprah acting and going to like dark, dangerous places like she does in like The Butler, where she's
beloved.
But I never forgot I was watching Oprah, like with a capital O, because the things she's saying, all the self-help things she's saying sound like things that she would say on her television show or in other various multimedia forms. It's her brand. And
True.
So I never forgot I was watching Oprah for a second.
Maybe it's like The Post because she's wearing a gold caftan and made it more interesting. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, this is a movie that is trying to do a lot of things and doesn't quite nail them all. But I like kids movies that are weird and trippy and take chances and kind of shoot for the fences. And so I would recommend this movie. I just know that it's not like the unalloyed triumph that we might have hoped that it would be.
Yeah, this movie gets a lot of points for its ambition, right? I mean, Ava is totally swinging for the fences here, and sometimes she hits it. Sometimes, right? I think that visually this movie is spectacular. I think there's things, this movie does stuff visually that you kind of haven't really seen before, and I think that does that really, really well. And there are moments where the emotion does hit. I think there's a particular scene where you get where Oprah's narrating, where you get kind of an understanding of what the villainous force that it actually kind of how it how it manifests itself in people's day-to-day lives. And I found that to be compelling and in line with what Meg as a character is going through. And the end falls apart, right? Like they get, the scene, that you see in the trailer with all the kids bouncing the ball. Like I thought that was
a cool scene.
That was a cool scene, and that had the right tension and kind of dread to it. But then the more we get into kind of the climax of the movie, it just starts to fall apart to the point that at the final climax with like the big kind of pieces that are throwing Meg around, like that kind of just stopped working. And which is frustrating because the whole point of that book, where the book goes and how Meg ultimately in both the book and the movie, her final kind of actions, I think could have carried a lot of emotion with them and don't. And that's what's really frustrating. Ultimately, there's more good than bad here, but God, I would have liked to have, I don't know if I wanted to actually see them take more time to lay some of the groundwork. Like this is one of those movies, it makes me think there's certain movies that if you don't already know this story and you're not paying real close attention to this movie, then you're gonna have questions about why characters do stuff. Because I think that an awareness and kind of not almost familiarity with the book is gonna help you fill in the gaps that the movie doesn't do a good job, I think, doing.
Have you all read the book?
I read it when I was like 10. I barely remember it, but I didn't feel like I needed the book to sort of get me through the movie. I think the movie, for me anyway, it stands for itself.
I don't think Nick read the book. I never actually read the book.
You could probably address this better as a parent.
Are you aware that I'm a parent?
But I think this to me felt like the sort of movie that you see when you're under 12 and you dig it, and then you carry it with you through your life, even as you get older and you watch it and you go, oh, okay, that doesn't entirely work. But the stuff that I love in it, I'm gonna hang on to these scenes and these visuals, and this character means stuff to me.
It feels very young to me. In tonally, in terms of the dialogue, it feels very simple and like aimed at really young kids. And
I'm okay with
maybe
that.
for the adults of the audience, it's for for them to revisit this story in a way that tugs at nostalgia, but also is new and current. I mean, Ava does a cool kind of balancing act here where she's, true to the things about the story that folks like, Meg and her fortitude and her perseverance and all that. But then, the kids go to James Baldwin Middle School. The Mindy Kaling character quotes everyone from Shakespeare to Outcast and Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Right,
so
and then
it's
back to like DuVernay, right? Like you get these great references, which I think in the context, like, it works and makes sense. And again, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here.
Oh, I love looking at this movie.
The colors are great.
There's elements, like the way Mindy Kaling's character talks about stuff. I found Oprah's character or Oprah's performance, like, sure, it's on brand for her, but it absolutely fits with what this movie is trying to say. And the messages of this movie make sense and they work. But as a whole piece, it doesn't quite come together. And that's so frustrating because you could see, you see that the potential of this movie could have been, and we talked about this before we started taping, I can't help but wonder collectively as a culture, as critics, as an audience, would we have a different reaction to this movie prior to Black Panther? Because I think Black Panther blows us all away with a big budget movie that has a message and hits hard, and this one doesn't quite hit that.
I think that's a weird false equivalency.
They're trying to do different things.
They are. I mean, I guess sort of the same studio, and it's like, yes, a black filmmaker who's known for indies now gets to do a big budget movie, but I think
it's more along the bar being set really high. Right?
Maybe so.
I think it's apples
Here's
and
the thing. What I don't like in a kid's movie is cynicism, and I don't like laziness, and I don't like pandering. This is a kids movie that doesn't do any of those things. It is aggressively a kids movie, and so for adults it may be kind of a bit of a shoulder shrug. But I think that for the messages that it wants to impart and the visual story that it wants to tell, it's doing a bang up job.
Yeah.
So yes, there are some narrative issues. It maybe doesn't all hold together as well. This is a novel that's always had this reputation as being unfilmable, and I'd say that reputation remains intact.
Oh, but they're so close. God, DuVernay gets so close to nailing it.
This is is probably as close as anybody's going to get, and I want to praise this movie for taking chances and being interesting, and not. I mean, we see so many crappy kids cartoons that coast on like familiar pop songs and like cultural references and snarkiness and fart jokes, and like this just feels like it's about stuff that you actually want kids to think about and experience. Notions of empathy and notions of science and whatever else. And so I'm willing to forgive its shortcomings, because I think what it does well, it does really well.
Yeah, there are individual images here that are really, really striking, like the flowers. What the flowers can do. There's a scene where Meg has to kind of build her own world, and like stairs materialize and portals materialize, and that's really cool. And the imagination of that is really exciting. And I love that between this and Annihilation, we have like badass science girls saving the day.
I saw this like 24 hours after I saw Annihilation.
But you also had that in Black Panther too, right? Because that's what
true.
Totally, yes.
Shuri.
But no, I saw this 24 hours after seeing Annihilation. I was kind of like, there's actually some connective tissue here, like these sort of female-led expeditions into these unknown places because of family responsibilities, like
magical, colorful lands.
Yeah. It would make a completely inappropriate double feature.
Right.
But,
One of them is evil, the other is not. Okay, so what I'm saying 5.4. I'm really torn on this, and I want to recommend it. I'm torn.
I give it a 7. I recommend it. I mean, yes, it's not perfect, but I think that it's a movie that people should see, and see it on the big screen because it really is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm close to where you are. I give it a 6.5. I'm frustrated with it, but ultimately there's more good than bad here.
All right, so our number is 6.3. It's at 44% on the tomato meter, which does feel a little low. But we love you, Ava, and thank you for taking chances. Bye.